Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the GSD Show. I've got a guest. I'm excited to have this guest on. I was a guest on his podcast, 2 years ago, and just recently here today, as we're doing a little bit of a podcast swap. And his name is Bryce Henson. He is the CEO of Fit Body Bootcamp, also one of 3 coaches, along with Jay Redmond and Bedros Keuilian, for Legacy Tribe. He is doing incredible things, not only with the brand of Fit Body Bootcamp, but we're excited to talk about that today, but also in just how he's helping people in the fitness industry by understanding how to be better leaders and how to be better entrepreneurs in the space. So we're going to learn a lot from him today. With that, welcome Bryce Henson to the GSD Show.
My man, thank you so much for having me. We've been watching the show for quite a bit of time, and I'm very honored to be here today.
It's probably been boring without you on it. Now it's going to be really good.
Let's go.
I can't wait. Okay. So I've known you for a while, and I've heard about you. You know, Bedros talks so highly of you, and obviously you've been in charge, and you've been put in charge in a really big franchise brand. How many locations do you guys have?
North or just south of 300, open and operating.
Look at that. I mean, that's a lot to be responsible for, right? And you've got franchise. How many multi-unit franchisees do you have?
Dozens
of them, right? So you got some high-level players you're working with, and your results at Fit Body Bootcamp, I've been hearing from you some of the results that it's been doing. You don't see that in a lot of the franchise. I feel like a lot of the franchises in this space, they're more concerned with giving a good workout and a fun environment and making it look crazy expensive and all that. But at the end of the day, the root goal that everyone has when they get in there is to get in the best shape of their life. And that could be something aesthetic, that could be feeling emotional, something that has to do with anxiety, whatever. But the point is, that's what they care about. And I always say, it's like, well, who cares about going first class to like the worst place in the world? You want to go first class, if anything, to like Fiji or something like that. But if you can't go first class, you're still in Fiji. And with you guys, I think you guys do a great job of constantly making the brand look better, making it world class, but also making sure that the results are there, and you never take your eye off of that. So
thank you.
I want to talk to you a little bit about what it's like leading a brand that has all that responsibility. And I'd also like to talk to you, maybe we'll even start there first, because it's such an interesting new thing since I've last talked with you, Legacy Tribe, the thing you're doing with Bedros Keuilian and Jay Redmond. You want to just dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, so thanks for teeing that up, and dude, it's been a pleasure and a privilege to be able to, take the keys from Bedros back in 2021 when he passed off the keys of the CEO role. As you would imagine, big shoes to fill, but it's been an incredible ride, and we'll talk a little bit about that today. But I think specifically Legacy Tribe, it's a coaching program, not specifically geared at men, but we have primarily men, but also badass females as well. And always just trying to be a little bit better. So they join the coaching program because they want to launch a business. They want to be better from a sales perspective, from a personal perspective, from a fitness perspective. It really is designed to really help people get to the next version of themselves. And Bedros launched his first BK Live event, and this will be fall of 2023. And we had about 500 people in attendance. So we launched the Legacy Tribe coaching group there, and we filled it up with about 300 people from the get-go. And it's just a great, inspired, the value of community, about environment. When you surround yourself with people that elevate your thermostat, that, have bigger goals, bigger dreams and ambitions, that wears off on you in a very positive way. And I think that's the mission that we've built with Legacy Tribe.
So with Legacy Tribe, obviously you've seen people come in here, they want to be better versions of themselves. And it's probably, it stems from being a better leader, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you've seen was like a common denominator as to why people may not have already been a better leader? What were people missing, and what are you seeing is like a really key ingredient?
Oh, love that. And I love leadership. I wasn't always this way. And we were just talking about my podcast. I'll kind of take it to a different lens first, and then I'll kind of bring it back to, some big problems that, people are going through, that ultimately you get better benefits when they become and develop their leadership skills. But we were talking offline. In 2012 is when I first opened my first Divine location. I actually started as a franchise partner before I became the vice president and then eventually the CEO of the brand. And going through that particular process was really interesting. I knew that by starting a business, by tapping into my entrepreneurial spirit, I could create more time freedom and more financial freedom for myself. But it wasn't until about 2 years in the game, which is wild to believe, that I really understood the true value of leadership. And we talked a little bit about this. I knew the value of leadership, looking, looking up to different role models, but didn't fully understand the effects until I started my own business. And about 2 years in, when I was frustrated on one hand because the gym was growing, we had more members coming in, but for whatever reason, my team wasn't really like latching on to the vision and the mission and the values that I laid forth. And when I realized the client experience and the training wasn't to my standard. And there was a series of two things that happened to me. Number one, a good friend of mine that ended up going to a on-site experience or a workshop and seeing his operation. He had 10 locations within our brand, and just seeing his leadership ability was like a wake-up call that, oh, wow, like there's a big delta in the skill set that I need to acquire is to become a better leader so I can lead a team just like he did. And secondarily, right around the same time, Bedros provided some sort of workshop. It was about the 6 pillars of leadership. And he actually talked about, his inefficiencies as a leader. That was a lot of the content. I thought to myself, like, that's me. And this light bulb went through my mind that which made me realize that leadership is the problem. Leadership is the solution. I need to continue to develop that. And that's going to be the delta to really create the impact, the income, the financial, and the fulfillment that I was looking for. So that's really kind of what opened my eyes to leadership. And what I've learned over the last 10 years is that it's a constant progression, that just because, I've developed strong skills in leadership doesn't mean that I don't need to continue that ongoing in the future, having that white belt mentality. So I think, from my lens, there's 3 pillars of leadership. Number one, you need to be able to lead yourself. Number two, once you lead yourself, then you can lead your family. And the third pillar is once you lead your family, then you can lead your empire and your business. And for me, it's as simple as actually self-discipline. People need more discipline. They know what to do, but just they lack the ability of the discipline to do that. I also think it's interesting why we're so passionate about the industry that we serve, being fitness. 80% of our population is either statistically obese or overweight. And what's even scarier is nearly 20% of our child population is that. And when I look at that, I see that as avoiding leadership, of leading thyself. And it starts with discipline. It starts with you. And these are some of the things that we're helping coach our members of Legacy Tribe, also our franchise partners at Fit Body Bootcamp, to be better leaders so they can lead themselves, lead their family, lead their team and business, and also lead their community.
When you talk about discipline, obviously that if you don't have discipline, it's going to be hard to lead yourself.
Oh yeah,
because that's leading somebody else that doesn't do what they say they're going to do is difficult. But if you're that guy that doesn't do what you say you're going to do, how are you going to lead that?
You can't.
Right.
Yeah.
So what are some things that you've seen that need to turn on, or some perspective change that need to happen, or maybe some ways that you work with people for somebody to go from, let's say, moderate discipline, meaning they'll still make it to things on time. They'll still make it to the things that they have to be at. They'll generally eat well, to high level of discipline, which is they show up ready to go. They're more prepared than anybody else. They're reading, they're eating better. They're the majority of the population, they're working out better than population. They're doing the little things with their wife or their home and what they've got to do there. Like going from moderate discipline to top 10% discipline. What has to happen? How do you get there?
That's an incredible question. There's a lot of steps there, but if I'm going to break it down, the one word that comes to mind, Mike, is accountability. And when I look at high performers are humble enough to know that everyone needs accountability, and not only just, individual accountability, but I would even say public accountability. So number one, getting a mentor, getting a guide, getting someone who's been where you want to go, and then having them be their accountability partner is massively important in terms of developing leadership and in terms of developing discipline. Because a lot of times we know what to do, but it's the delta of actually doing what you know you need to do. And if you have a mentor or guide, your chances or your probability dramatically increase for a couple of different reasons. But the main one is it's humbling. It's embarrassing when you commit to something, to your mentor, when you proclaim that vision out to the world, when you're, getting public accountability as well, and you fall flat. Okay. But if you don't have accountability, if you don't have that guide and you're accountable to no one but yourself, well, then that's where we see breaks in discipline, breaks in the chain. So I think if you're listening to this and you're, know that, you want to be a better leader for yourself, for your family, for your team, for your business, for your community, and you're lacking that discipline, I would first start by hiring an accountability buddy, because a lot of times you'll be way more prone to disappoint yourself than you will to someone that you respect, AKA in the form of an accountability partner.
So if I get an accountability partner, how could I still fail? Like what could happen? Obviously, you can get the wrong accountability partner or accountability coach, but are there any other things that could be variables that could cause me to fail that I can start working on as well?
I think environment is probably the first thing that comes to my mind. We were talking about this, on my show. We just, concluded, and I love being in your presence, in your team's presence. They just raise my thermometer, and I think it's important, in life. And we were talking about, a hypothetical situation where, you're trying to wean your son off using the word bra. Okay, just a hypothetical situation. It's really, really challenging if you're trying to parent that, but then all of your friends and the friend network of your son says that same terminology. You're literally fighting, environment. And think about this, you speak Spanish as your first language, right? But we're both talking in American English. Why are we speaking American English, okay? Why not Australian English, which I was just in Australia visiting my sister-in-law over Christmas break, which is hilarious because my wife and her, they both grew up in Brazil. The Brazilian Portuguese the exact same, but when they speak English, they sing so differently.
Right.
Well, the only difference is the environment, okay? Patricia, my sister-in-law, she learned, how to speak English in Australia. The environment was Australian English. Where Tatiana, my wife, she learned English in America, so she speaks with more of an American accent. So to that point, what's the big delta and what's the big opportunity? Not only being able to provide or gain an accountability partner, but can you change your environment? Can you tap into a community? Can you tap into other people that are going to raise your thermostat? Because this is something that you said, I just learned from you. When you're around someone who's, thinking about football, talking about football, guess what? You're going to start learning and understand that nomenclature. And that's the same true with discipline. That's the same with leadership. That's the same with business. So again, accountability is huge. Secondarily, change your environment, change your, culture, and your results also change.
Yeah. It's funny how we're really just blank canvases, and the paint is the environment. And if you take two people that are identical, everything's identical about them, and you put one of them in the slums of India and you put another one in Beverly Hills, and you look at them at 16 years old, after 16 years of living in those two different environments, although everything at starting point was identical, they're completely different.
Yeah.
Their view of the world, their view of themselves, the view of what they have to do to survive, the view of effort, the view of gratitude is just drastically different. So I agree. I mean, if your environment, if you don't control your environment, it will control you.
Yeah.
Actually, the way it works is your environment will control you regardless. So the best way to do it is control the environment that's going to control you, right? So I'm going to choose that environment because I know no matter which one I pick, it's going to control me. So I'm going to pick the one that I want to control. It's like picking your leader.
Totally.
Right.
And that way you can have the desired outcome that you want to attack.
Right. 100%. Now, when it comes to Fit Body Bootcamp, man, you've got obviously layers of leadership because you're not able to lead effectively in a managerial style, 300 people.
No way.
No way. In fact, I can't remember.
Not only 300, but then their teams and their clients.
And their teams, their clients, right. And then the people that are above them. I think it was Bezos, but I don't want to say it was for sure him because I can't remember. But somebody said, you should be able to feed the people you lead with a pizza, right? So 8 slices. So if you have 9 people, you're leading too many people.
Yeah.
So with that said, you've got 300, you got different levels of leadership, but you at one point started out, you bought a franchise location, but prior to that, were you ever a manager anywhere, prior to being an owner anywhere?
I wasn't actually. My background was in sales. So I started basically what moved me from Michigan when I went to college and when I was 21 years young, got a sales opportunity, an internship initially, which turned into a full-time gig. So that was my, 10-year career in the sales industry, which gave me confidence to be able to, convert a lead coming through. But why I joined a franchise system is because I didn't know how to market. Okay, I didn't know how to generate leads. I didn't know how to run operations or HR because there's a lot more things in running a business than just converting a lead, which converting lead is very important.
Which a lot of people don't learn until they're in it, right? They learn later on. I was that way. So in your case, you went from leading a one location, which was probably anywhere between 5 to 15 employees.
I would say by a handful. Yeah, 5.
Okay. To having several locations, which
about
probably
5.
Right. So probably meant another 20 to 30 employees.
Yep.
To then eventually getting into HQ and becoming the CEO of the entire franchise. So there was a lot of different levels of leadership. And I remember I had a mentor that really broke down to me the different skill sets that belong to each level. I'm interested in your perspective and your story. What are some of the things that you noticed you needed to add to your tool belt as you moved up the ladder of different levels of leadership? Because leading 300 people is not the same as leading 5, and leading high-level people is not the same thing as leading people that are in their first 1 or 2 jobs in their career. So what have you learned about the different levels?
Mike, man, incredible question. And it's interesting. I consider myself a leadership expert, but I also have a very white belt mentality, because what I've learned in leadership is the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know. And a lot of the lessons that I've learned to be a strong leader I am today, it's because of, trials and tribulations and mistakes that I made. So I'm not here talking, if you're listening to this, please, I'm not my high horse saying how great I'm as a leader. I'm saying I made so many errors as a leader, and that's how I've gotten, good to develop the skill. I would say, for like layer 1, what I realized is my communication skills need to dramatically increase. And what I love about you, Mike, is you're a great orator, you're a great communicator. And I think that's so mission critical for leadership in all, areas, but especially from scaling 1 location to second location up to 5, because you can't be at the same place, 2 different places at the same time. So from a communication perspective, from an email communication, a written perspective, from on video, okay, being able to execute a quarterly state of the business, be able to shoot a podcast like this. So my communication, which will need to continue to develop, but that was probably the first, big aha and realization that skill set needed to be proved. Then when I, transitioned from a gym owner, if you will, to a multi-location owner, to part of the franchise system, what I realized in that level of leadership, be able to cast a vision and be able to really cast a strong mission, vision, and values is critically important. The more people that you have in your organization that you're leading, the more clarity that you need to be able to provide, and the more clarity creates conviction. So I think that's probably like the second biggest aha as I continued to climb the ranks of leadership. That my vision need to be clear, and I need to again strongly communicate that. So that's probably the two areas of focus that in my journey from the question you asked.
Have you ever studied the honeybee by any chance?
No.
Being in leadership?
No.
I think anybody that loves leadership and organizations, building big organizations, could get a lot out of studying the honeybee.
Is it loud?
No, the honeybee, like the actual insect.
Oh, got it.
Like just seeing how they operate as a colony, and that is business, what they do. They have some, like what you were talking about, communication, creating the communications to be able to span across the entire business organization. But they communicate through pheromones, but they have like these things, and the queen bee is the one that ultimately decides on what's going to happen, and what she says goes, and everyone knows when to go and how to go because of what she says. And within 15 minutes of the queen bee being in trouble, the entire colony knows, and they all come running. And they do this really cool thing where they have certain rules of how they communicate, which I think any business needs to have in order to go top down. Like the honeybee, I don't know if you know this, but when there's people that have roles, soldiers, and there's people that go find food and do that. And the one that has to find food, they actually will, when they find food, they come back, they get in front of everybody, and they do a figure 8. And then in the middle of their figure 8, they like wiggle their butt for like a certain period of time. And that lets the other bees know that's where the food is. Wherever their butt wiggles, they do the figure 8, that means I found food. And then wherever they stop to wiggle, that means it's that way. And here's the interesting thing. For every second that they wiggle, it's about 100 yards. So they know not only where it is, but how far away it is. And then they immediately go there and they work together and they know who does what job. But everything that happens comes from the communication of the queen bee. And the queen bee understands that the system is what runs the entire company. And then everyone just needs to do their job. And it's one of the coolest things. But as you start reading more about the honeybee, you're like, dang, I could take that from there.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Take that from there.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just an interesting thing. When you were talking about going across like that in the communication, immediately brought back some of the studying I've done on honeybees. I think it'd be an interesting thing. I think you dig it based on our conversation.
Love it. 100%. And really, when you break it down, I mean, why I love leadership, and when you're explaining that example, it's teamwork. It's like, what's our common objective? What's our mission? Okay. In business, we have our mission for Fit Body Bootcamp to inspire fitness and change lives every day. Okay. So that's our mission. For the queen bee, it's let's go get more food. So then once you create that vision, and then you're getting a team of people working together. And as we know, when you have many people working towards the same mission aligned there, I mean, you're going to dominate any industry, any competition, any time if you have that power of teamwork. So I think when you really break it down, Mike, why I love leadership is because I love people. I love working with people. I love building teams. I love directing traffic. That's going to, make a win for us all.
Yeah. It's also really cool that you like they're like franchises. As soon as it gets to the point where they squeeze enough juice out of the lemon, I mean, they don't think they could do any more in that territory, they open up a colony in a different location.
That's actually legitimately what the honeybees do.
Yeah, they literally franchise. Very cool. Okay, so when you're looking at scaling a business like this, man, I think franchising, one of the hardest things to do is to make sure that, so you want entrepreneurial people in some way, because entrepreneurial people are really good at problem solving.
Yes.
And they're really great at getting creative. They're really great at recruiting, or they should be. Like, entrepreneurs are team builders.
Yep.
But you also want them to kind of be like COOs more than anything, because you want them to just go, what's the vision? Let me execute.
Correct.
And so what makes a great franchisee? Like, how do you... what are some of the things that you'll take? I know I'm going to get some consequences with it, but I'll take it because it's important. What are some of the things that make up a really good franchisee, and what are some of the negatives that come along with it, but they come with a good one?
Yeah. Oh, incredible question. I would say what we look for specifically to franchise partners at Fit Body Bootcamp, this is going to be very niche to what we look for in our franchise system, but we can build off that. Number one, they have to be passionate about people and fitness, but Mike, you know this to be true, more even passionate about people than even fitness, okay? You need both, but we are in the people business, first and foremost. If you don't love on people, if you don't value people from a relation perspective, you're not going to thrive in our specific franchise system. So that's typically what we look for, our first quality. The second is coachable. We know in our franchise system, the best clients who get the best results are the ones who are most coachable, who come to boot camp at least 3 times a week. Then our Boot Camp Plus nutrition coaching program, because we know body composition change, the biggest driver of that, is what you put in your mouth through nutrition. So, being coachable, and that's the same quality for our franchise partners as well. To your point about, we have the game plan, we have the mission, and you want some creativity, because if you have no entrepreneurial spirit, you don't have the figured out mentality, which I just learned, Mike, from our chat today. That's one of your core values. And this is something ingrained in our, culture and the terminology at Fit Body Bootcamp. Let's figure it out, team. Let's figure it out, team. And you need to do that. So that is a very entrepreneurial, quality. So you need a little bit of that. To your point, though, it's more of the executioner type of quality and characteristic, because we have the game plan. So it's about someone being coachable to execute that game plan. And the third quality that we typically look for is someone who's growth minded. We know that leaders are learners, and it's about having a white belt mentality. We just talked about this. While I've developed a lot of leadership skills, I'm grateful for that. I still have a lot of leadership skills yet to develop. So having someone who has that, appetite to learn and grow, that can, be willing to develop their leadership skills, their management skills, to then take the business model that we have, insert it in their community, and then pour into their team and grow their business. So that's specifically what we look for in terms of our best franchise partners. In terms of the challenging situations that come up, which is the human nature.
But I don't want to know the challenging things with the mediocre ones. I want to know the challenging characteristic traits for the best ones.
Ooh.
Because here's the thing. I'll give you an example. I've led many sales teams before. And the best salespeople, the A+ salespeople, they put up numbers. They never not do under 150% of quota, right? Like, they're tigers. They only know how to do 150% above.
Yep.
But they're the biggest pain in the asses.
In what way?
They'll make requests for things. They'll find a way to look for the little loopholes in almost every agreement in order to get somebody. They'll find a way to qualify somebody that may be a loophole to qualify them. They may want to skip a training because they feel like they've already got it. So I've seen now the people that are on their way to A+, they want the trainings. But the people that are consistently above that 150%. And so now those are negatives, but I kind of, it's almost like it's worth dealing with sometime in order to get that, right? That pain in the butt. What are some things, because I've seen some traits in some top franchisees. What are some traits you see in some top franchisees that they come with the territory?
Well, it's interesting you say that. And I would say it might be a little bit counterintuitive, because when a franchise partner's coming in, they're thinking it's their business, which it certainly is, right? Their business, they're, go ahead and create and grow that business. But really what you're doing is you're buying part of an entire brand and by their team. So really having a teamwork focused, a teammate mentality is really important. We know that in sports. So the challenging sometimes are really, really high performers sometimes cannot be really good team players because they clearly are successful. They know what works. And, sometimes they'll, push the edge in an uncomfortable or not a good way for their best interest. Well, maybe it doesn't actually fit the brand profile. So that could be, something that, we face. Also, it's interesting. It's a lack of humility. Sometimes, and I've probably been here too, in Bryce 1.0, but ultimately some of our very, very successful franchise partners, sometimes they can have a little bit of ego because we understand why. They're successful. They've taken the blueprint, they run with it, but really what the, adverse reaction could be, then they miss actually new developments and structures, with our brand. In fact, I have an incredibly good friend who's an incredibly strong franchise partner in many locations of our brand. Uncovering the hood, there are a lot of things and programs and nutrition coaching in our application that their location is not even using. And the reason that is because he's built the blueprint, he's off running and building his business, but not taking a step back and looking, hey, we actually have some awesome innovations that we've built. You're actually missing out on a great opportunity. So I think that kind of goes hand in hand as well.
It's funny. That was my one characteristic. When I see the top franchisees, the franchise we work with, the franchisor will roll something out that's actually a pretty good idea. And the top franchisee will look at the other top franchisee and go, roll their eyes, right? Like, oh, here we go, another thing. Just let us do our thing. We're killing it. What do you want? Yeah, no, we get you're killing it. You're killing it because of the things we put in place similar to this prior to you killing it. And now we have more things for you to continue killing it because if we don't keep adding things, we will go backwards. So it's tough.
It is. Sorry to interject. I get fired up about this, passionate about it. And the best way I can describe that to a franchise partner, a gym owner, is just relating it to their own experience. When you launch your gym, your first level of clients, you have a good program, but hopefully you're going to make the program a lot better and refining and you're optimizing it. But you have a client come in, and they're used to whatever programming, but then you make an adjustment, and actually a better adjustment that's going to, create a better result and create a better culture, better experience for the client, but the client's resistant. However, the new client coming on board with a new system, they don't know anything any different. So they just fall in line and they execute the game plan and they get a better result. So it's kind of that same type of, kind of chick of their egg. It's one thing that the franchise partner in this particular situation has been super successful, but take a step back, have that humble white man mentality and realize that you've been successful because you've implemented a lot of things that we pushed out, but also we have more good things coming. So having an open mind to that, which I think is really important.
Yeah. With franchisees that you've seen, because, you have enough franchisees where you've seen some go from very little business understanding to multi-unit franchisees. Mm-hmm. What are some of the key things that you think they have to learn outside of leadership? We've established the importance of leadership, but outside of leadership, if you have to say, okay, that's 1, here's 2 and 3. If you get these 3 down, everything else is 4th or below. You're going to have to learn those things too, but please get these 2 or 3 down, because if you don't get these down, well, then none of those are going to be as impactful. So what are the 2 or 3 things that somebody that is very green, talking to somebody that's like 24 years old, doesn't have much business experience, and that their goal is to own 5 locations in the next 3 years, successful locations.
On top of what we talked about,
on top of leadership, yes.
Sales and marketing. At the end of the day, when I take a step back, the most successful franchise partners in our brand, not to say they had this experience from day one, most of them did not, but they have a healthy respect for leadership, for salesmanship, and for marketing.
Now, when we say marketing, do we mean the broad understanding of marketing, or do we mean lead generation?
Specifically lead generation.
Okay.
Because from our perspective, the value of a franchise system is to be able to build that brand. So for create brand awareness, which will be a work in progress, and it always will be, just like for Starbucks and McDonald's, major brands that we all know. But specifically lead generation. I think what happens is, and to your point about the 24-year-old green, gym owner, they come in and they've probably had a good experience with fitness. It's changed their life. They're fired up. They want to launch a gym, and they're excited about the equipment, about the positioning of the rack, and about the workouts, and about this, that, and the other. Which, yes, it's important. You need to be able to provide an incredible client experience. In fact, in our podcast, I forget who you talked about, was drilling the point home about client experience. In fact, in 2024, this year, our theme of the year, which we have a theme of the year every year, is the client experience, because we provide better client experience than everything else, where it happens and what wins. But at the end of the day, For a young gym owner, the operations, the equipment setup, the workouts, that's not the most important thing. It's one, to be able to create an awesome client experience, but it's number two, to have a healthy respect for sales and marketing. Because if you can't generate leads coming through your door and you can't convert them into long-term members, you're going to have a hard time. You can have the most beautiful gym in the world, but if you have no members, you're not serving or helping anyone.
Yeah. I remember when I was 20, I was working at LA Fitness, and they wanted us to take the leads that they had and call those leads and get them in the door. And these leads, half this book wasn't even a working number. And it was about day 2 or 3 when I actually made contact with like 5 people, making a couple hundred calls a day, where I was like, this is a waste of time. This is never going to get me to break the record. Because I wasn't thinking about quota. I don't even remember what the quota was. I can't tell you what it was. I just knew the record was 42.
And that's what you're after.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
The hell am I going to do with the quota?
No, you're not.
Quota means I just made it.
In fact, I'm so impressed, actually, to interject here with Legacy Tribe. Most of our members are probably in their late 20s, like 30s, 40s, and 50s. There's a 17-year-old kid who joined the group, and he just wants the environment exposure. His dad told him, find a group of people that are, doing better what you want to do and surround yourself with greatness, and that's what he's done. And he's actually selling gym memberships, and he said he has a quota of he has to make 50 calls every single day. I was like, dude, if you want to be successful, you have to 10x that. Because if you're just going to do 50 calls, you're going to be mediocre. And if you're mediocre, why are you freaking in this particular tribe? It's like 10x that. And when you 10x that, what's going to happen is your rate of learning is going to basically dramatically compress. You're going to get more rejections, but the more rejections you get, guess what? You're closer to the next sale. Your skill set will just dramatically increase. And before you know it, you look back and be like, man, what's the next challenge?
Yeah. Now, for listeners listening in, 10X is more of an expressioner in that sense, because we're not calling 500 people a day.
Sure.
Maybe as a studio, perhaps, which would be a great day, but we really just mean like you got to call out 50s bare minimum.
Right.
Right. So like the studios we see that are crushing it, they're doing about 100 plus calls per shift per employee. So if they got like 3 people making sales, they're doing 300 calls per day, that particular day. So that's kind of what you mean, right?
And my whole point behind what you just laid down is just like double down.
Yeah.
If like the minimum is this, do not freaking do the minimum and then come back and say, why is it not working?
Exactly.
That's my point there.
I just want to make sure it was clear because I know what you meant, and I just want to make sure for anybody that takes things too literal that 10X is more of an expression than 100%. So, but I remember I was like, all right, well, the goal is not to call this book and get people to come in. That is a tool. This book is a tool. The goal is to sell 42 memberships.
That's the desired outcome.
Which means at whatever they said their closing rate is, I'm going to need to get X number of demos in. That's what I'm going to need to get, whatever it was back then. I don't remember.
Say the closing percentage is 40%. What you're doing the math and be like, all right, I need 60% more because I'm going to close 40%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So I go, okay, cool. So I need to get that many people in. Great. I'm never going to do it on this pace. What else can I do? And I started hosting. I'm 20. I started hosting clinics on health, nutrition, how to naturally increase your metabolism, how to build more muscle faster, how to burn body fat faster.
You had clinics inside the gym. So you'd create a clinic and then basically reach out and say, hey, I have an awesome workshop for you to attend.
And what I did was I charged $99 per ticket, but it was free if you bring somebody with you, and it's free for both of you. So it's $99 if you come alone. It's free for you and a friend if you come with someone else.
Nice.
That was the idea.
Your own marketing level. I love that.
And I remember the first time we did it, I didn't do great marketing. I was over ambitious. I was so young. I never done anything like this before. So I thought if I announced it in a week, I'd get 100 people show up. Well, I had 8 register, so they gave me the racquetball court to host it. And
by the way, freaking good on you, man, for having that vision at 20 years old. Holy shit! How did you actually come up with that?
I don't remember. I would be making it up, but I just know that I did.
Good on you.
But the racquetball court is what they gave me, and then the next time I got like 16 people in there. We had some people return, which was good. And then the aerobic room was what I had to take next because we had like 50 or 60. And by the like 8th or so one, we had the basketball court with 200 people in there, right? And I was selling. I mean, I crushed the record. I think I doubled the record, whatever it was. And it was like by a 40-year-old guy prior, right? And I was 20. And so that's when I started getting management opportunities. But the goal, like you talk about lead gen, is how do we get bodies in the door that share an interest in learning how to solve the problem in which we solve? That's it. You want to learn how to build muscle? Great. Guess what? We can help. And what I did was I learned how to run these clinics in a way. At first, I just vomited information. But then I still remember the first woman that did it. It was a brunette woman. I just remember her being like in the back row, and I said something, and she looked over at her partner, whoever she was there with, and she was like this, and they both like were like shocked, like because I gave them a counterintuitive lesson. I think it was something that you can't, like if you just do inner thighs, you're not going to get your inner thighs tighter. You're actually going to get them to touch more because you're just building muscle. And you're not really burning much fat off of doing inner like hip adductors, right? And they were like, oh. So I was like, oh, I like that. And they bought. So I was like, how do I create counterintuitive messages within the events to get more people to be like that and get affirmation from their partner that, well, we didn't know this. This is interesting shit. And that's when I started signing about 50, 60% of the room. And it was great. We're moving fast, a lot of training. So,
it's like contrarian marketing.
Yeah.
It's like, what's everyone saying? We're going to do the opposite. We're going to frame it in a different way. That's still going to help them and get them value, but you're making yourself stand out.
100%, right? So talking about how it's okay to eat more carbs, right? Like that's okay. Like people are like, whoa, what do you mean it's okay to eat more carbs? It's okay to skip breakfast. Well, what do you mean it's okay to skip breakfast? It's okay to eat before bed. What do you mean it's okay to eat before bed? I was always told it's not okay to eat before bed, right? So all these different things, I found a way to like, I had like a list of 20 some things. And I'm like, how do I get them to just do that? If I get them to do that, it'd be great. But ultimately it stems down to, I need to get people that have an interest in solving the problem in which we solve in the door at a high rate consistently. And I don't care which avenue that was. Now this is 2001. There was no Facebook. There was no Instagram. Anyone that started a business post 2015 is spoiled. Because they don't know that there's 1,000 other ways to build a company. And it's been happening for many years prior to 2015 using Facebook ads. But if I had Facebook ads back then, holy cow, I'd fill that room much faster.
Yeah.
So I'd be promoting them. I mean, just get people in the door. I don't care if that's Valentine's Day stuff, which is coming up, if it's daddy-daughter stuff, mommy-son stuff, back-to-school stuff, like use any, I mean, retailers are doing it. They use any holiday, give me a reason to have a promo. Give me a reason to get people in the store.
It's like frat boys, in the fraternity, which I was a frat boy back in the day. It's like they make up any reason, Toga Wednesday or, Thirsty Thursday, literally make up any reason to get people through.
Make it up. Yeah. Give people a reason.
Yeah.
That's it. They just want to do things. And adults have a hard time finding things to do. They don't know what to do, so they stay home.
But one of the things I love that you said about this, I mean, really what you've done is you created a lead magnet. A lead magnet is you are, creating something of desire, okay? You're solving a problem that your dream client wants to be solved. So instead of you just going through the normal reach out process of just, calling cold call or executing cold calls and then trying to get on the membership, you took a step back and were like, what is actually my client want to be solved here? Okay, they want to build more muscle or they want to lose fat. I'm going to create a workshop, an AK a lead magnet. We're going to provide education on how to solve that problem, and then we're going to drive people there. And once you've provided education, we've provided value, then you become the authority. When you become the authority, that conversion membership makes so much easier. So much easier.
What you just said is right. I remember the best performing one that I did, where I did it over and over, was fat burning for women. And the line that I got everyone on was, I was basically saying, how many of you wish that you can burn a little bit more fat off the back of your arms? And we know where women and men store fat a little differently, right? And a good percentage of women store fat in the back of their arms. So 80% of the room raise their hand. And I go, how many of you guys have done exercises for the back of your arms in order to reduce that, like tricep extensions or any type of seated dips or anything? 80% of the room raise their hands. And I go, what if I told you that you burn more fat off the back of your arms doing lunges than you ever would doing tricep extensions? Now, of course, no one gets that because everyone thinks you could target fat.
Yeah, but what you just said is very true. So it's like, holy smokes, that like crazy awareness. Like, what's this guy Mike talking about?
How is that so? Yeah. And then you talk about how it takes more energy to do lunges than it does to do tricep extensions. You're lifting more weights, you're moving more things, and calories are measurement of energy, blah, blah, blah. See, but man, those things work really, really well. And all you're doing is what we're doing right now, what I still do today, 41 years old, I still do it. I help people for free before I ask for their money. Doing it right now. Anyone listening right now that's going, dude, I'm learning something, that's it. Now, maybe you buy from me today, maybe you don't. Maybe you just tell somebody to listen to my podcast, AK, bring them to a clinic. Maybe you come back to another episode, come back to another clinic. And then maybe one day you go, you know what, I got to work closer with this guy.
And what do you say to this, though? Because I've heard many of our franchise partners coming through early in the days, Bryce, if we provide all this education, then, why are people going to buy from us? I mean, I'm leading the witness here, but what's your response to that?
Yeah, I've been asked that question. And so here's the way it works. I go, would you say that there's a lot of videos already on YouTube about how to burn fat? Yeah. How about what to eat to start your day? Yeah. How about what to eat before a workout? Yeah. What to eat after a workout? Yeah. What to eat before bed? Yeah. Are carbs bad? Yeah. Okay. So this stuff's all online already. Yeah. Have they ever asked you those questions in the gym? Yeah. Why are they asking you? Why do they ask you? You think because you and your activity that creates your version of the algorithm for you think that's what they see? They don't see that stuff. They're seeing stuff from The Bachelor. They're seeing stuff on Donald Trump. They're seeing stuff on LeBron James. They're not seeing your algorithm.
Right.
You love your stuff.
Yeah.
They don't see your stuff, number one. And number two, if it's not hot on their mind, they don't even notice it.
Correct, yeah.
You think the average person hasn't seen fitness stuff and just went by because it didn't matter, but the average American starts or restarts a diet, the average American woman starts or restarts a diet 9 times per year. You just got to be right there, right then. And then it matters. So I think, and sometimes also the way that you say it connects with them a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that one thing that they needed to hear, and they needed to hear it in the way that they heard it. So, man, when you have mass volume like you can with social media and YouTube, you're not really rolling the dice. You're just shotgunning information. You're bound to get people that love the way you deliver it.
Yeah, totally. And also too, one of the things that is so valuable in that, education exchange and the value exchange, you're building trust. Yeah. And who are you going to do business with? Someone that you don't know from Adam or someone you trust? And yeah, they're not your best friend, right? So if you're listening to this, you might not be a best friend for Mike. However, Mike, you've been able to provide enough content where you're building, that relationship and building that trust element. And shoot, if they've gotten value from you, Mike, well, the trust is already there. I might as well actually engage in proper business from a financial exchange. And that's how marketing and that's the lead ascension works.
I love that you brought that up. That is such a great example, because imagine being a franchisee working at a gym, then you go to a grocery store. That's maybe a mile or so from your gym. Mm-hmm. And somebody sees you and they come up to you and they go, Bryce, yeah, my gosh, I know you don't know me, but I've been watching your stuff. You've been so helpful. The video that you did on increasing metabolism was awesome. I shared it with the entire soccer team. My son plays soccer ball. And you're just like, whoa, how easy is it for you to go, that's awesome. Have you ever been in our gym yet? No, I've been meaning to go. Oh, come on and meet. Come on as my guest. Can you come as my guest Tuesday? What are you doing Tuesday? Get your phone out. How easy is it to book that appointment? I know, because I've done it. I've gone to fitness. Most of the world, people don't know who I am. If I go to grocery stores just fine. But if I go to a fitness conference, I get stopped every 5 minutes.
Oh.
Right? And so when they get stopped, I've had that happen. I've signed up people walking down the hall because somebody will come up, Mike, I've been watching the GSD show. Dude, you guys, your stuff was awesome. This was great. And I'll go, that's awesome. You own a gym? Yeah. You a member of ours? No. I know I've been meaning to sign up. Why haven't you signed up? I know I have to. I know, but it's called get shit done. Let's get it done. You trust me enough. You see my stuff. You trust me enough? Yeah. Let me be the one that signs you up. Can I do that? Yeah. That's it.
Let's go.
It's so easy because the trust, it's not there, like you said, it's not best friend, but I trust you enough to believe that your heart's in the right place. You help me enough. I feel like I owe you.
I think it's about just stacking wins. Why, do you have an incredibly beautiful relationship with your wife? You didn't meet her yesterday. It's like time and attention. It's been years together of, little exchanges, building more trust. And it's the same with business, right? You start by providing value for free, okay? Provide value, build a little trust, then make a promise, keep the promise, deliver on what you promise, and then extend through the extension ladder. And as you do that over and over again, that trust becomes deeper and deeper. And then you can ascend a client to a higher ticket program or whatever the case may be, because that trust is there.
For franchisors listening, one thing I love about what you guys are doing that I think is very important, I don't see it enough, is you guys have some really good systems in place to develop your franchise or mentor your franchisees. I'd actually like you to dive into that, like the different layers and the captains and the stuff that you have in order to really make sure that they're supported and they've got what they need to be successful.
Yeah, well, I'll just take a step back and kind of how this all provide clarity and how this all came to be. And initially, as I mentioned, I launched my first gym as a franchise partner, not affiliate with headquarters, in 2012. And from 2012 to 2018, scaled to a handful of locations and became one of the most successful franchise partners. So And Bedros who's our founder, my business partner, dear friend,
Infamous.
There we go, the infamous genius, if I could say that right. He's an incredible visionary, incredible entrepreneur. He's not an operations guy, and he'll be the first one to share that. So his vision, as the brand started to grow and expand in 2018, he reached out to me, and he knew that he wanted more owner influence in the brand to be able to shape the client experience, and that way we can create more success for our franchise partners by way of our clients. So I got the call, which then eventually became the CEO role a couple of years later. And one of the first observations that I made, I said, "Hey, Bedros," I call him B. It's like, "Hey, B, who better to coach our brand to success than our most successful franchise partners?" And that was the birth of what we call the coaching and profitability team. So what I did is I recruited a team of 6, if I can do that right, 6 of our most successful franchise partners from Canada, the East Coast, the West Coast here in North America, to be our coaching and profitability or CAP coaches for our brand. So that way, when a new franchise partner comes through, they launch their gym. We have a 100-member guarantee, which means that we guarantee from day one that they'll launch with 100 paying members, or we run their marketing until we do. So that gets them off on level 1. We have 5 tiers, if you will, 5 levels. And we were talking about this in a conversation. Yes, the levels are designed from a financial, monetary perspective, but also from a status perspective too. People want to, human nature, we're ingrained to want to be the best. And when you start at level 1, guess what? You want to be level 2, then you want to scale level 3, you want to eventually get to level 5. So that's how we've been able to structure our franchise system ever since, I guess the coaching and profitability team came to play in 2018. We've taken a step-ladder approach. So it wasn't really until 2021 is that we established our, tier level systems. But that's how we're able to really shape our franchise partners' experience, pour into them the support and the coaching they need, and then get them through the ranks, if you will, to become in our case our target, a level 5 franchise partner within FitBody.
That's awesome. Yeah, because one of the biggest complaints I hear from some of the struggling franchises, from the franchisees, is that they don't feel like they've got that support and that mentorship. They feel like it's corporate guys that don't even know what they're doing because they've never run a studio themselves, telling them how to do their job.
Well, in fairness, and Bedros was the first one to admit this back in the first handful of years of our brand, good intentions and brought on good-hearted people, but didn't have that business experience, didn't have that FitBody experience.
Totally.
So that's how we started. But just like anything, we've been able to optimize, be able to refine. And, we have an incredible, strong planning process every 90 days. I believe, do you work off of Entrepreneur Operating System, EOS?
We have a hybrid. So we use a combination of EOS and Scaling Up.
Okay. I think I remember you saying that. But regardless, we operate off of EOS. And that system has been so instrumental for being able to create, annual targets. But then every 90-day period, go ahead and check those targets, figure out, okay, what's working, and then what do we need to pivot and adjust. And that process of refinement optimization, has got us to the place where we're at today.
It's fantastic. One of the things I think that it's really good that you guys do, because I don't think enough franchises and independents even do enough of this, which is to focus on the biggest variable of whether or not somebody's going to get good results, which is it starts in the kitchen, right? I mean, at the end of the day, if you put crap into your body, that body isn't going to perform at the max level in the gym, which means you're not going to get max results in the gym.
Sure.
And that's just for the 3 to 4 hours you're in the gym, not to include the other 23 hours that you're not in the gym on those days and the 24 hours on the remaining days that you're not in the gym.
Yeah. So
there's a lot of weight in food when it comes to your goal. And you guys put a lot of emphasis on this. For those that are thinking like, how do I do this? Is it, because there's that hairy line, right? Of like, we're not nutritionists, or how do we do that without the liability? How were you able to incorporate nutritional coaching and education for your members without necessarily crossing any lines?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I can speak from a franchise lens. I can't really speak from independent. We've been able to leverage our franchise and leverage our brand, be able to recruit and bring on nutritionists to be able to backbone of that, which is very applicable and a value from a franchise partner perspective. But I can't really help offer too much insight, from an independent perspective. But first and foremost, to start off on what you mentioned, the client experience everything. And clients aren't coming to us because they want to get tortured for a half an hour, 45 minutes. Our sessions are 30 minutes, right? They don't want to be tortured for an hour, right? Half an hour. They want to get a fitness and a fat loss results. They're typically, at least, within our brand, they're our clients. We call Mrs. Jones as our avatar. She's, in her 40s. She has a couple kids. she's not trying to shave a second off her, 40-hour dash to make the NFL Combine. She wants to lose 30, 40, 50 pounds and feel better about herself, okay? That's the desired result that we're trying to attain for Mrs. Jones. Now, Mrs. Jones also gets the benefit of community, of accountability, of relationships, but initially she's not coming for that. She wants to lose weight. She wants to lose inches, and that's the desired result. So how we get her that is through nutrition coaching, because as we know, we're both fit guys being in the industry for quite some time. Yes, you need to work out. Yes, you need to build lean muscle mass, which is hugely important, but you need to make sure that your macronutrients, you're getting enough, water, enough protein, enough healthy carbohydrates and fats, and that's actually what's going to sustain long-term results. We also know that when a client comes in and they get a result, guess what? They stay, they pay, and they refer. So we put a lot of emphasis. So the last few years, in 2021, is we launched what's called Bootcamp Plus, which is our nutrition coaching program. So we, again, kind of like we have 2 tiers for our franchise partner system. Well, we actually have 5, but we have 2 tiers for our coaching program for our global clients. The first is Bootcamp Basic, which is, access to the workouts. And then we have Bootcamp Plus, which is access to the workouts and nutrition. And that's really where the magic happens. So what we've done is been able to, partner with a technology company, also with a team of nutritionists who have actually helped build the engine. And we have an application that really, helps our clients track their macronutrients, their proteins, their carbohydrates, and their fats. And again, the programming is done in the back end through nutritional support. So, there's no really gray lines for us. It's been an incredible, strong and successful program. And also, too, from a franchise partner perspective, not only their clients getting great results who are on the program, but also, too, it's extra income for their business because they get to charge an extra $40 a month. And again, as we say, client who is, getting charged more, who's more committed to the program, who's seeing results, they stay, they pay, they refer, and then your gym grows.
Yeah. Quick fire questions. You ready?
Yeah, let's go.
What's your favorite leadership book? The one that you felt really hit home?
21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. That's the one, but anything John Maxwell is gold.
Yeah, he is awesome. What's your favorite non-leadership book?
Cool.
The one that had the biggest impact on you?
Relentless by Tim Grover. Tim Grover, for those of you who don't know, he was the personal trainer for the late Kobe Bryant, for Michael Jordan, Dwayne Wade, an incredible amount of A-plus players. And that book taught me the mentality of being persistent, of resilient. That's really what it takes, Mike. I mean, we're both like to think sharp guys, but if you actually unpeel the onion, the first thing that we put out didn't work. I mean, just hearing your story, you had to make many adjustments. So you still make many adjustments to this day, but it's about that relentless fire in the belly, that persistence. And I learned that, in spades from that book. So I highly recommend the book Relentless by Tim Grover.
What's your favorite movie on business?
Recent, actually, Moneyball. And I'm actually not a data guy. So we were talking about DISC profile, and that's actually been instrumental in my leadership. I didn't, communicate that earlier, but adopting DISC profile, we partner with a program called Take Flight Learning, which, as we know as marketers and storytellers, we learn, human nature learns through metaphors. So the D, okay, is the dominant, is eagle, okay, domineering, etc. So that's the bird profile there. C is conscientious, which is the owl. So I'm very low owl or low conscientious. But when I learned the value of Moneyball, the value of making sure that your metrics are dialed in, you have insights to data, and just knowing this is how you've ran your organization, and that's been a huge shift in my leadership. So watching Moneyball the last few years have really sparked that, and not necessarily historically a business book, but there's so many business takeaways from it.
Love it. If you could have dinner with 5 people, 3 can be dead, so that it's okay if they're dead already. If you could have dinner with 5 people, 2 of them have to be alive, 3 could be dead or could be alive. Who are those 5 people? And for everyone watching, I'm interested in what you say too, because I actually have gotten some good ideas from other people when I've asked this question that I've stolen. So use the comments and let me know who your 5 people are. But if you could have dinner with any 5 people, 3 of them could be dead or alive, who would they be?
Ooh. Dude, we just shot my podcast, and this is very authentic. Number one, no doubt about it, Elon Musk. I mean, to see this guy, how he operates and executes, world class. So number one, Elon.
Have you read his new book with Isaac Walter?
No.
I think it was his name, the one that wrote it. Oh my God. I'm like 3/4 of the way through it.
It just come out?
Yeah, it came out within the last couple of months.
Oh yeah, no.
Incredible book.
It's it's a biography of him by someone.
Biography, yeah. Walter Isaacson, the same one that wrote the biography of Steve Jobs, Einstein, Benjamin Franklin. He's like the best.
He's the guy. Yeah. I've heard about it actually, but no, I haven't read it. It's on my list now.
Cool. So
Elon Musk. This is very authentic. Literally in my past, we talked about Marcus Aurelius. I'm a huge student of Stoic philosophy. Stoic philosophy has shaped the way I lead, shaped the way I live, shaped my ability to process what are things outside my control and focus on what's in my control. I can talk to you forever about this. So Marcus Aurelius being the ultimate Stoic leader and emperor, philosopher, king, if you will. Number 3, Walt Disney. I'm attracted to like big visionaries, like, you know, Elon Musk clearly is one of them. Marcus Aurelius in his own right in a different way. But Walt Disney, I mean, what went through his mind? Can you imagine, you know, kind of showcasing the vision about, you know, Disney World and Disneyland? And, you know, at the start, people are like, what the hell are you thinking? You know, and then, you know, joke's on them, right? So I'd love to, you know, have some time with Walt Disney. On that same vein, I'm just attracted to winning and performance, you know, high performance. Cristiano Ronaldo is probably from a spoiled perspective, just to be in his presence and just like to feel his energy, like that, you know, winner's mentality. And then Kobe Bryant.
I was hoping you'd say Kobe. I was hoping you couldn't leave him out.
No, he's going to do it. And that was just funny when I was reversing engineering. I was like, I'm going to finish out with Kobe because like he's the guy has had such an impact on my life. When we're talking about this, I moved to Brazil, an island called Florianópolis in the very south from 2010 to 2012. I was fortunate enough to be able to learn the language fluently, have a Brazilian wife and family. And really, a large part was due to Kobe Bryant. Many people don't know we're both big fans, but Kobe spent 6 years in Italy, so he spoke fluent Italian. And I thought it was the coolest thing, especially your Italian ancestry. That was the coolest thing, this legend, this icon, okay, that played for the Lakers. I just loved LA, you know, growing up, that would dominate in sports. And then, you know, sometimes we'd be able to offer an interview to the Italian press
and Spanish.
And Spanish, too. Which is wild.
Yep.
Okay. So for me, he had a huge impact from the way I think, from emulating his success, and also too, just, you know, his ability to, you know, travel the world and learn different languages. He was a huge influence on my life. So Kobe, number 5.
Let's hear you say something in Portuguese.
Oi, tudo bem? Eu estou muito feliz para receber a sua minha podcast hoje. I just said, welcome.
Welcome. Let me get on your podcast.
Yes, stay in it to thank you for.
It's Portuguese is still a romance language.
Yeah, very.
So I can understand a lot of it from the Spanish and Italian dialect.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Okay, awesome. Well, man, I'm so glad you came on the show today. Thanks for making the trip. Let us know that you were coming into town. I can't wait till next time I'm out there and seeing you guys. I know that you are somehow involved. I don't want to just say how because I don't want to get it wrong, but in an awesome ranch. And I got to go to this ranch and meet the real Tarzan, which if you don't follow real Tarzan on social media, it was awesome. And I got to hold a huge python and go up to this crazy mountain. What you guys are doing with that place is fantastic. So
thank you.
Really, really cool. Where can people follow you, Bryce, and learn a little bit more about you?
Well, I appreciate that. First and foremost, I'm a podcaster as well. So the Fitness CEO podcast will be the best way. And then on social, all my handles on Instagram and the whole deal is real Bryce Henson, not to be confused with fake Bryce Henson.
Love it. Awesome. Thanks so much for everybody that was watching, listening. Thank you for tuning in. Bryce, thanks for being on the show, brother.
My man.
And we'll see you all next time.